Now recently I have been collecting some CRKT multi-tools off of eBay. These are fascinating models, and one of the first ones that I'm excited to share with you today is the Bivvie. 1, 2, 3, go! Yeah, so this is pretty neat in that this has one of those pliers that you can snap it into place, hit the button, and then out come the pliers. Now these pliers have sort of a secret because these right here are very large pliers in a small platform. Not only are they pliers that disappear, then if you snap it in place just right, mine are a little hard to keep closed, that they open really quick, but they are in essence even larger than the pliers on the Leatherman Surge. Isn't that crazy? These plier jaws are far larger than the Leatherman Surge. They are almost double right here. When you talk about the plier real estate right here, you have almost double the gripping length of the Leatherman Surge. These are very, very large. When you consider that the Leatherman Surge would start down there, you technically have larger pliers than the Leatherman Surge in a essentially Leatherman Wave platform, because this one right here, not really platform, but length. This right here is around 4 inches long. Pretty amazing what CRKT did. Really, really neat. Now, if I can get this to, lock into here. Now on the back of this, you had several other tools. This is almost like your Marlin spike. You don't see that usually on a multi-tool. Some people could maybe say it's an awl. And we have the Phillips screwdriver, flat screwdriver, opener. When you extended these, they actually locked into place. Then you push this down, it unlocked it. Another fascinating feature. Had a fairly large knife. This right here has very large serrations. Probably fairly easy to use that as a wire stripper. But the knife right there, the pliers, and then these tools with the pocket clip. Pretty neat, the CRKT Bivvie. If you had one in pristine condition, it could be a pretty fascinating tool. Perhaps in the future I will keep my eye out for one that is a lot better, but usually on eBay I think these go for around $50 to $100 in good shape, because these are, sort of like dinosaurs, not around, but that plier head, pretty neat. Now this one I also got on eBay. This one is a little bit of a mystery to me. Maybe you guys can help me out, because to me, this looks just like a lot of the other cheap Amazon ones you can still find on Amazon, but it does say CRKT. I'm not sure if that's true or if it's just a fake. With this one, you can use this little button right there, and then this really tiny plier that feels really, not good. It's got this little spring. Not a huge fan of this system at all. It doesn't feel near as good as the Bivvie. This does lock into place. You can put that lock back like so. Then also there is this bottle opener, screwdriver. It looks like the pocket clip has really been out of shape, unfortunately. But on here, it just says CRKT and then 9075. I'm not sure if this is even a CRKT, but at least if it is, they did try to keep some of the characteristics of the Bivvie just in a very, very cheaper package. Not a fan of this one. Now, one of the CRKT versions I wanted to show was the CRKT Flux. This is fascinating in that you start out with the rail, and these have the clips right here, so you can attach to, pretty much almost anything. And then you could pick your modules. You could buy the knife, which is this one right here. I don't have any of the other modules, but from what I have read, there is a flashlight, there was a flash drive, and several other modules. When you see right here, it was a rail system. You could attach 2 modules at a time of your choice, then clip them or use the clip right here. I think it was a fairly innovative system for its time. Obviously now we have the Roxxon, the Companion, the Mini Companion, the Flex, the Titan, all these different systems, but for its time, it was a pretty innovative solution by CRKT. Times have moved on, but it is fascinating. Now, these right here are the Guppy. There is the regular version and then the, as they say right here, little Guppy. This is the little version. Now, the small version, I do not think came with a screwdriver attachment. On the larger version, there were some spots where you could attach a screwdriver or not a screwdriver, but a bit holder. Then you could use this in the bottom for your bit driver. And actually, it's not as bad as you might think. When you have this closed all the way, it does sort of lend itself to a fairly ergonomic bit driver. But some things like this right here, the jimping, I guess, on this knife get in the way, can be a little bit scratchy, but it's better than you might think. At the top, you have this adjustable wrench, which doesn't open as far, again, as I would think it would, but you do have that. So with the regular size Guppy, it does have a knife, the 1/4-inch driver, this clip, and then the adjustable wrench. Pretty neat design with the pocket clip also on the other side. On this small one, yeah, it's a sort of a neat little tool, definitely a little conversation starter. You can see how it looks a little bit like a fish. There's this clip, bottle opener. And then on this one, you do not have the bit driver. You just have this little screwdriver at the bottom, the knife on the side, adjustable wrench, the clip. Yeah. Pretty neat little system by CRKT. Again, taking the adjustable wrench in a different direction. This is what CRKT is genius at doing, taking something that we have seen over and over and over and making something completely different. It's not always better, but it's certainly different. Now, this next tool right here is actually one of the best feeling of all this lot. This one actually feels probably the most premium. This right here was the CRKT Zilla. It wasn't perfect. It's a fairly large tool, but it has this button that unfortunately mine gets stuck a little bit, but the pliers feel really good. These right here are spring-loaded pliers. They feel very solid. This whole tool feels pretty solid. Got this pocket clip. Then let's go ahead and lock these back into place. I feel like this button is maybe the weak link on this. You had this bit holder, which again, there we go, we just push that out, and then the bit driver on the end, which was, yeah, pretty clever design. Then we can put this back in the bit holder. You could have the Phillips on the one side, the flat on the other. Again, stick this right into your bit holder, be ready to go. Pretty cool right there. Then on the end, you actually had a gigantic flipper knife right there. Now, yeah, there you go. So with a little bit of a flip of the wrist, you could have this knife. The serrations look pretty good. Yeah, this probably was one of, not Zilla's, but CRKT's most premium multi-tools, just in the feel, the look, the design. Probably one of their better ones right here. Pretty fascinating, but not only did they have the full size, which I think this is, but they had a junior. I have not gotten the junior yet. That is one I will probably be looking at for in the future. But this right here does have these holes right here, which I'm not sure if it's a thing, but I think these might almost work as wire strippers. If you can see that in the handle, yeah, you could almost use those as like wire strippers. Pretty neat design with this one right here. So I wanted to go over these models today to show you guys that there are some fascinating multi-tool models out there that are not just Leatherman, SOG, Gerber, or Victorinox. There are some other brands that in the past have done some pretty innovative things and actually have won awards as like best multi-tool of the year. I think CRKT did with maybe the Flux or the Zilla or the Guppy. I think one of these did win an award in the past. I forget which one. You guys can let me know. But these are pretty neat designs with the Bivvie. You see that you can mount pliers that are larger than the Leatherman Surge in a Leatherman Wave size platform. If you definitely want better pliers, that is something you can focus on. You don't have near the other amount of tools, but you can have super huge pliers. With the Flux system, yeah, that was fascinating with that modularity. And with the adjustable wrenches, they had a completely different take with the bit driver, making it a lot lighter. And with the Zilla, yeah, this is more of a premium looking tool in a very small package. Now, I think the Junior would probably compete more with the Leatherman Skeletal, but this one right here, again, is more maybe a Leatherman Signal competitor, you could say, but it's even, yeah, it is pretty large. Let's just measure this before we go to let you guys know. It comes in at 6.5 inches long. Pretty large, but it will fit in the pocket more like Sog's baton because it is a fairly narrow frame, and some people would really like that. Let me know what you guys think. Multi-tool collecting definitely is fun. You get to see some really neat models, and that's one of the cool things that you can find when you collect some of these from CRKT.